one of an
Oh my god.
teddy bears to do what they did.
Heck no!
My last time babysitting.
Or else he'll turn you into a McFlurry.
Reaction is to run as fast as
I'm a changed man. You should mean that much to me. I don't wanna be done. I'm doing all that I can, and everybody hates Chris. They can't understand. Can we love? 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 Girl, I know I told you this ain't over.
at you.
Oh!
7, I had a really scary experience.
That was a violation indeed.
I got up at 8 a.m. as usual, but as I stood up, I noticed something was different.
What?
It was very cold, and I felt
Guys,
like
if your house is
someone was
very cold,
watching
you
me.
better start leaving.
When I
because
turned to
you'll
my
be cold
sister's
inside.
bed,
Like,
she woke
if
up,
it was so hot
and I
and it's getting
screamed.
cold.
Two
Christ.
One of an older woman with long, dark hair and green eyes.
Ew.
The other of a bald older
Guys, if I
man
see
with
that in my
blue
house,
eyes.
I'm gonna
I screamed
run.
again and ran
First,
to my
wait.
mother.
Yeah.
I told her
Before
what
we
happened
continue,
and saw
this
some
video
man at the
will play
door.
after the ad.
I didn't know what he looked like, but I screamed and hugged my mother when I saw him. I was crying at this point, and she looked at me as I pointed to the door, not explaining why. She instantly knew what I was upset about, and she spoke in the direction of the door. I don't know what she said. I was just too scared to listen, and all I wanted was to be somewhere else.
Yeah.
I would leave.
Nothing like this happened to me again until I was 13. I was coming from my friend's house and was really
13, guys.
tired.
I was
I went to my
13 years
room,
old. It
turned the
is
lights
says.
off,
Wait,
went to
hold on.
bed.
You're scared
Are they talking about me?
No.
Hi, my name is Shay. Well, at least that's what everyone calls me. About 11 years ago, my mom, my big brother, and I moved from Mississippi to Nashville, Tennessee.
Mississippi
We were
Queen.
staying with my uncle and
Where's
his
their
wife
face?
and kids for a while until we got our own
She's like,
place.
what's that faces? That faces
About a month
disappear.
later,
Like, what's
we
that?
found an apartment to stay in. I had a bunch of teddy bears that I really liked between I was 12 going on 13.
Teddy bears.
Well,
You're 13 years old and you still play with teddy bears. Kids
my room
sometimes.
really nice, and I set my teddy bears on my shelf above my bed. A week later, I noticed one of my teddy bears would always go missing, and I would find it under my brother's bed. I thought he was taking my teddy bear just to freak me out, but he really had no idea what I was talking about.
Guys, if a teddy bear,
It was
even
kind
if
of
you have a
weird.
teddy bear in the
So
house,
I
if it
decided
starts
to lock
moving,
all my bears in
I'm
the
gonna
closet.
eliminate myself from this place and I'm gone. I will stay with
Everything was
other
fine.
people.
That's what I thought until the third day after has been started. The third day, I woke up on a
If I could just make it a video right now. So you guys, if I'm telling you because I'm scared, go to her video.
bed.
Dang.
I knew
Can you guys see?
something
It
was
had blood on his
After
eyes.
that, I immediately threw my teddy bears away after that. We
Good,
stayed
good
in that
idea.
apartment for a year. After that, we moved. I'll never forget the day of the
What's your
move. We found bones in the fireplace from a human. Now I'm 23, and I still remember that day, but I always think, what if I set up a video camera
Oh my god.
teddy bears to do what they did?
Is that you?
On the weekends, I used to love to get away from all the hustle and bustle and take a trip to the countryside. Luckily, I have a cottage in a small village which is located right at the edge of the forest.
White people.
Can you imagine?
I used to love to get out of the
Who would
city
live in the
and
edge of the
live
forest?
in a
Obviously, you
little
won't see
cottage.
any animals.
Why did I
Some
stop?
sassy back outside.
I'll tell you.
So big racist.
After a hard week at work, I needed to rest, so I decided to get out of town. I went home, packed my bags, threw them in the trunk, and drove off. When I arrived in the village, it was late in the evening and I was tired from the long drive. I went straight to bed and fell asleep quickly.
By yourself?
In the middle of the night, I was awakened by the sound of my car alarm going off. I looked out the window, but there was
By you
nobody in
before.
sight. I found my car keys, pressed the button to shut off the alarm, and the awful noise stopped. I laid back down and tried to fall asleep. All of a sudden, the alarm went off again. I didn't feel like getting up, so I just grabbed my keys and pressed the button once more. Everything was peaceful and quiet again.
New car.
However, 5 minutes later, the alarm went off a third time. Once or twice could have been an accident, but now I was wondering what was going on.
That's creepy.
Could someone be playing tricks on me in the middle of the night? Ignore it! I got up again and pressed the button to turn off the alarm.
Don't
But
investigate.
this time, I didn't lay back down. I stood at the curtains and watched. After a few minutes, I saw something by the light of the moon. A shadow emerged from the bushes and slowly approached the car. I could just about make out the shape. It was something tall, skinny, and black. The figure reached out with its long, thin arms and knocked on the car. The alarm went off again, and quick as a flash, the dark figure retreated back into the bushes.
Oh, heck no.
At that moment, I realized what was going on and began shaking with fear. I turned off the alarm and continued to watch.
Call the
thing
cops.
emerged from the bushes again, slid silently over to the gates, threw a hand through them, and removed the partition holding the gates closed. I was paralyzed with fear, and I couldn't move. My mind was overcome by panic thoughts.
Why did you leave there? Why did you
What
leave
was
there?
it?
You thought you was
What did it
alive.
want from me?
I don't know.
What was it doing? Would it ever go away?
Nope.
A shiver ran through my body, from my head down to my toes.
Call the cops.
My mouth was dry and my heart was beating fast. I was so tense, I was gritting my teeth and clenching my hands into fists. I regained control of myself and ran down the stairs as fast as my legs could carry me to the ground floor. I wanted to look for something I could use to protect myself. However, just as I was about to switch on the lights, I suddenly froze in my tracks. The dark figure was at the window. I was pressed up against the glass, staring in, looking to see whether or not there was someone home. I immediately ducked down behind the sofa and peered out. That's when I realized what all those tricks with the car were for. It was trying to lure its victim outside. I couldn't take my eyes off its hideous face. Its skin was the color of ash and covered with wrinkles. Its eyes were small, beady, and completely black. Instead of it having a nose, there were 2 ragged holes. It didn't have any lips, just 2 rows of sharp, yellow teeth.
Breathe it on the glass.
And it breathed. It was so heavy and hoarse that it was misting up the window.
No,
I
guys,
just knew it wasn't going to go away. After standing at the window for a few moments, I heard a rustling noise as it came to the front door. It as it tried to push its fingers through the gap under the door. The handle began to twitch wildly up
No, guys,
and
that's
down.
very,
The creature emitted a chilling sound. It was not like a human voice. It was a deep, beastly growl, like an angry dog chewing on a bone.
something like that.
I knew that if it heard me, it would keep trying until it found a way to get into the
This
house.
thing's kind of
I
bugged.
crouched down behind the sofa, hiding in the shadows and desperately trying not to make a sound. Tears began involuntarily streaming down my face. No matter how much I tried to stop them, I could feel my
Go to
pulse
them.
pounding in my
Dad
temples,
wanted to
and I was
come live
shaking
here.
like a leaf,
You got
just
yourself into
waiting
this.
for it to end. I
Idiot.
don't know how long I cowered there. I must have been passed out. When I woke up and looked out the window, the creature was gone. The door was still in place and everything seemed secure. I've never been so
Rule number 1,
relieved in all
go
my
to the
life.
cat.
Where's your
I
iPhone?
ran upstairs and looked out the window.
Call the cops.
It was light outside, and there was no sign of anything wrong. Taking a chance, I grabbed my keys, and without stopping to collect any of my things, I ran out to the car. I jumped in, locked the doors, and drove away from the village as fast as I could.
Yes.
I didn't stop driving until I got back to the city. When I got back to my apartment, I turned on the radio and heard a news report. The announcer said that, in the village, the dead bodies of 2 girls had been discovered. Their corpses had been mutilated and dumped in a swamp. I guess the creature found what it was looking for. I don't want to, but I am curious to know. What would have happened if I didn't make the right decision of splinting?
This story takes place when I was a junior high school student.
Ooh, coffee.
One morning during
I wish I
summer
could go to
vacation,
church.
After my father went to work,
Everybody has a
my
dad.
mother and I decided to visit my maternal grandmother, who lived in a rural area. Since my
I know, right,
grandmother's
guys, when we were
house
young,
was
we
located in
used
the
to, you know,
countryside,
drink
getting there
with carbs
required
and
making
our
a
parents.
left turn.
Don't forget
and
the
then
coffee.
driving for
But now,
5 minutes
what big?
through
Like
a narrow,
at the end, I'll show you
one-car
pictures of how I was when I was young. You
unpaved
would say,
road.
what happened to this pool?
There were rice fields and forest on the sides of the unpaved road.
And it's part 2
As
because
soon
the
as
other
we
time we did it,
arrived,
and I know some of
I
you will
greeted my grandmother, then went into my youngest uncle's room. I used to like visiting my grandmother's house because my uncle was a huge gaming fan, and his computer was much better than mine at home. So once I confirmed my uncle was at work, I turned on his computer and started playing Doom 3, which used to be the most popular game
That's violent.
once upon a time.
So violent.
After playing the game for about an hour or two,
Who's that?
my uncle returned from work. Upon his arrival, my grandmother asked him to take her grocery shopping.
Why is he
Since
gray?
my mother,
Like,
my
you know,
aunt,
guys,
and
it's
I were
actually gonna be
visiting
nice.
her
Guys,
house.
I literally have
So at
uncles,
about
young
7 p.m.,
uncles, like even
they all
5-year-old
drove to
uncles.
town to
Guys,
do
my
some
family,
grocery
there's something
shopping.
going on.
I was super excited and waved goodbye to them.
Home Alone, are you serious?
Since I think it is unnecessary to explain why I was excited, I'll just leave it. After enjoying about 90 minutes of free time, my uncle called. He said he was about to turn left on the road, but one of the front wheels was punctured, and asked me to bring him a new tire which was in the storage shed. As I said before, after making that left turn, it took about 5 minutes to drive through a narrow, unpaved
You're going at
lane
night.
road
What's
to
wrong
see my
with kids these
grandmother's
days?
house.
Small kids like this
But
going
it
out
took
at night.
about 20
Like,
to
are you
30
are you
minutes
fine?
on foot. Now that I think about it, it was quite scary to walk on that road, especially at night. It had no streetlights and was surrounded by rice fields and forests.
Why don't they call it a tow truck?
It was almost 9 p.m., and that area got quite dark at about 8 because it was in the country. So to be honest, I was really scared, but not wanting anyone to know I was a coward, I decided to
No,
go.
let everyone know.
I grabbed the
That's
tire,
stupid.
left the house, and started walking along the unpaved road. I could see my uncle shining his car's headlights toward me.
Already?
That said, he was still quite far away from me, and the headlights looked like 2 big yellow dots. I was a bit relieved knowing my uncle and family were on the other end of this road, but the night was dark, which deepened my fear. You know, when you walk in the darkness, your eyes adjust, and you start to see unclear shapes. I felt like I could see someone standing in the rice field, and someone sitting down, resting his chin on his hands, and looking through the bushes.
I don't know why.
I don't know, guys. No, guys,
I
that was
broke out
something
in a
else. Man, I
cold
didn't
sweat
shout, but I
and
didn't.
held my legs to keep them from shaking. It felt scarier than being alone on a pitch dark road. And because of the fear and the delusion I had created, I remember feeling really dizzy.
Dang.
After walking for about 20 minutes, I looked towards my uncle's car and realized I was nearly there.
There you go.
Feeling happier, I rolled the tire faster. I rushed to hand over the tire to him as soon as possible, but saw something in front of me. I wasn't sure what it was, because it was still a bit away from me, but it was something dark. Suddenly, I felt strange and slowed down.
Why would you slow down? Close your eyes and drive. First thing, why would they let you guys come?
Distance. I strained my head and neck, trying to look carefully, but it was too dark. Although I was scared, I started to walk again, thinking, nothing is going to happen because I have my uncle and family about 300 meters away.
300?
But when I got closer to it, I stopped.
What is it?
Because it became
To the
clearly
back.
visible. It was an old woman squatting with her mouth open, looking at the rice fields. I could only see the side of her face, but my whole body shivered because her blank facial expression with her mouth open was now clearly visible in the darkness.
Somebody come get their grandma.
Without realizing it, I walked really close to the old woman. For reasons I don't understand, walking by without saying anything seemed even scarier, so I started talking to her. With a frightened voice I asked, Excuse me, what
Yeah, I
are you
did.
doing here
Yeah, I
tonight?
did.
No.
What are you doing
But she
there?
did not respond.
She escaped from the
Kept
nursing
looking
home.
at the rice field. On the verge of crying, I shouted, "Excuse me!"
Oh!
And I felt my heart tightening.
That sound.
Even though it was dark, I could clearly see she had permed white hair, and I could only see the white parts of her eyes.
Run!
The scariest thing were the huge wrinkles and stains covering her face and her wide open mouth.
You hungry?
I felt strange,
Grab a
like
Snickers.
I was going crazy while looking at her.
Oh.
I had eye contact, but was looking down while she was looking up at me. After a few moments of eye contact, she turned her body toward me. Oh my gosh, I thought she was sitting down, but realized she had no lower body. She only had a torso and head which was supported from the ground with 2 arms. A flood of thoughts crossed my mind, but I remember thinking, there is Satan right in front of me.
Oh.
I felt like she was going to run into me with her 2 arms if I didn't move, so I grabbed the tire in my arms and sprinted with my eyes closed tightly.
Wait, how can you carry it like this?
Without remembering how long I'd been running, I suddenly felt relieved. It was the next morning, and I was in my grandmother's room. When I asked my mother what happened, she said she was waiting for me in the car and saw me sprinting with my head down, holding the tire in my arms, and suddenly fell off the road, causing my family to come out of the car shocked. After listening to my mother, I told her and my other family members what I went through. Thinking I had suffered a heat stroke, that evening my grandmother made me chicken soup. My uncle told me to stop playing horror games and wouldn't let me play Doom 3 anymore. From then on, I could only play a Star Wars racing game while staying at my grandmother's house. I still believe it was not a ghost that I saw that day. It was just an illusion caused by my mental weakness.
And guys, I love to babysit.
I used to be a
now.
babysitter too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Jeez. Okay.
I checked my watch as I walked up to the door. 10 minutes late. I had been babysitting for them for 6 months.
Nice.
I was sure they wouldn't mind. Mr. Lopez answered the door.
Oh.
Hey, I'm sorry, I'm late. I started to say, but stopped when I saw him. His face was soaked with sweat, and he looked slightly agitated. No problem at all. Come inside.
No.
Go wash your face.
Don't
In the
investigate.
kitchen, there was only a single light on above the table. At it, Mrs. Lopez was writing something feverishly on a slip of paper.
Huh?
I'll be right back. I have to say goodbye to Denise. Denise was their 1-year-old daughter, who I had been watching for them.
That's not the best looking baby.
She disappeared into the darkness of the hallway,
Cute baby.
heading up the stairs. What movie are you seeing tonight? I asked, setting my bag down on the table. I don't know. I guess we'll decide when we get there.
Liar!
Mr. Lopez was shifting from foot to foot, looking more worried by the minute. I noticed a cut on his right cheek,
Oh man, shade.
dribbled with dried blood.
Shy.
Are you okay, Mr. Lopez? I asked.
We've already seen that.
Before he could answer,
Nakimi.
I heard Mrs. Lopez returning from
Translation.
upstairs.
I ran. In my language.
We should get going. Goodbye, Kitty, she said, pulling me into a hug.
Oh heck no.
She tightened her grip for a moment, and I could have sworn I heard a soft sob.
Something's wrong.
Thank you for everything, she said, with great difficulty.
They're like, goodbye, Katie.
She began to say something
She's
else,
gonna die.
but her husband grabbed her and dragged her out the door. Before he closed it, he gave me a mournful, almost apologetic look. Then he closed it,
Are you kidding me?
and I was alone in the dark house.
Where's the kid?
I thought about going out and talking to them more. Or maybe even just leaving.
Just leave.
But in the
Well, yeah,
end,
leave.
I decided to stay,
Dummy.
Stupid.
not turning on the lights so as to not startle up Denise. I climbed the stairs in the dark and headed into her room.
Dummy.
It's a creepy door.
I approached the crib and was about to lift her up when I saw a note lying on top of the blanket.
Wait, what?
I read it by the street light that glared through the window. Katie, I'm so sorry. He broke in while we were getting ready. He said he was going to kill us, do horrible things to Denise. He asked if we were expecting anyone, and we told him about you. It's an exchange. I'm so sorry. I hope that God will forgive me one day.
No.
No, he will not.
Looking out the window, I saw them pulling out of the driveway.
Run, girl!
Mrs. Lopez was holding Denise. She was crying while she waved at me, sadly.
Oh my god.
Now this one, I'll watch it by myself.
Do you like fries with that? After every meal you purchase, the offer seemingly comes up despite you already ordering. I know why, and I'll tell you, but I need to give a disclaimer that this story isn't for the faint-hearted. This allegedly happened to a friend of mine. We'll call him John, and we'll call his roommate Brad. The fall semester was in full effect, and the pair had both studied at the same campus nearby their student housing. It was alleged that John moved in with Brad as he was originally from out of town and needed a place to stay for the following curriculum. Brad was known to not be the most pleasant individual to study around, due to his constant guitar rehearsals for his rock band. This would cause John to always opt to study at a nearby McDonald's. It was usually the go-to place for students, as this particular franchise was a 24-hour establishment. The McDonald's was never packed, at least not during the night shifts, so finding a place to sit wasn't so bad. You would occasionally find a loiterer or two, and were guaranteed to find this one female bookworm who would literally show up every night. John would always purchase a meal before studying, giving him a plausible excuse to dine without feeling like he was loitering. Hello, sir. Welcome to McDonald's. How may I take your order? Just a Big Mac and a small Coke, please. Alright, sir. And would you like fries with that? No thank you. Are you sure, sir? It's almost 3 a.m. Okay, so what? Alright, sir. That'll be $8.19 after taxes. And how will you be paying? Card, ma'am. John taps his card on the machine and awaits his food as the odd behavior from the cashier left him feeling uneasy. Nonetheless, John grabs his tray of food and sits down to begin his long chore of studying. About 10 minutes before 3 a.m., the female bookworm slides by John's table with a frantic look on her face and says,
It's almost time. You should probably pick up your fries now.
What the hell are you talking about, lady?
Dude, hurry up. We don't have much time.
The female proceeds to head towards the front counter while John sat there dumbfounded. John then gets up from his seat and follows the girl's lead by ordering a large fry after her. As the pair head to their respective tables with their fries, John approaches the female and begins to interrogate her by saying, I got the fries, now what?
I recommend just sitting down with your fries. It's literally going to be 3 a.m. any second now.
What the hell are you talking about, lady?
You don't know about him? The clown?
Who?
Duh, Ronald McDonald. Haven't you gotten the hint why they always ask if you want fries with that?
No. Why?
I recommend you always have fries on hand, or else he'll turn you into a McFlurry.
And what do we have on today's menu? Hello, young lads. Such a fine couple you are. Care to share some delectable fries? Pretty please?
Okay.
Sure, sir. Good. I'll catch you all next time. And make sure to have fries with your Big Macs and Happy Meals. And that's when he departed the building. The more John studied at the McDonald's, the more he slowly realized that this was an everyday thing. Well, a 3 a.m. thing to be exact. The so-called Ronald McDonald would torment the customers and employees for fries, as if they were in debt to him for something. Nobody really bothered to do a damn thing about it and just went along with the whole facade. John, on the other hand, wasn't so pleased with the idea of being taxed to sit at McDonald's in exchange for his fries. But there was nothing he could really do about it. John had spread the word about the clown, but no one really believed him, especially his loud roommate Brad. One night, John decided to bring Brad to the McDonald's and prove that what he was saying was in fact legit. Brad didn't believe him and scoffed at the whole ordeal, as if the clown was some fake phony urban legend or some weirdo hustling food from regular customers. The time was 10 minutes shy before 3, and that's when everyone excluding Brad went to the front counter to pick up an order of fries. What makes the story more disturbing was how Brad carried himself. He had the same stubborn attitude and remained seated at the table despite John's multiple warnings. When 3 a.m. came around, the clown entered the McDonald's and immediately approached the bookworm's table first. Smells like this batch was fresh off the fryer. The clown then approaches John and Brad's table as they looked at the clown with their jaws hanging to the ground. Ooh, look what we have here! That's when John saw Brad holding a handful of fries with his bare hands, and John's fry container completely empty without an ounce of potato in it.
I recommend you always have fries on hand, or else he'll turn you into a McFlurry.
No.
Horror story. Okay.
I don't see anything scary about that.
It was Friday night. Jessica, as always, lingered at work, only not to listen to the piercing silence of her apartment.
Oh no.
After the death of Max, her young husband, Jessica did not like to return home. A working sheet froze on the monitor screen, but Jess just tiredly looked at her and Max's wedding photo on her desk. Tears stuck in a tight lump in her throat and were ready to pour out of her eyes. How often did she have dreams of reuniting with her deceased husband? But she was too young, beautiful, and healthy. Suddenly, the table under her elbows vibrated, and she heard heavy footsteps somewhere on the other side of the office.
What? Oh my gosh.
Cleaner? But he left about an hour ago.
So why would you say that?
Probably security guard is just making a detour.
Nope. Dang, girl, it's 11:30?
Jessica often stayed up late, so this did not alert her.
Do you need a
She
tissue?
returned back to work on the table, and another hour passed. The guard's footsteps were no longer audible, and dead silence reigned in the building, broken only by the sound of her keyboard.
She types weird.
Getting very tired, she looked at the clock. Oh, it's already midnight.
Well, that's true.
Dang. Yeah, seriously.
Again, I stayed up so late. Suddenly,
Hello?
overwhelming fatigue swept over Jessica, and she lowered her head to the table to rest and fell into a heavy sleep.
Something's gonna
Girl,
happen in 3, 2,
don't do it.
1. So
In her dream, Max came to her for the first time in all the months after the tragedy.
That's Max.
What you judging?
Yeah.
He was very calm and looked peaceful.
For now. Oh, he's up to something.
Jessica said.
miss you so much, love. Why did you leave me? Why did you die so early? Died? What are you saying? I just left for a short while and very soon we will see each other. I promise you that.
He's gonna kill her.
What?
But I was at your funeral. I remember.
Hey. Her eyebrows on point.
Max laughed.
Nice laugh, bro.
A loud sharp knock woke Jess, and she jumped to her feet in fright. The office was windy, and her hair was very disheveled. It's strange because I did not remove the hairpin. The cold February air was blowing to the bone, and Jess realized that she was also standing in a pitch darkness. She saw in the rays of moonlight that the window was broken.
Girl, better run.
What's a day without ads? We're back, yeah.
But our office is on the 25th floor. What the hell?
You're still staying there.
I need to leave before I catch a cold. I wonder if the guard is still here.
You need to leave before you catch a demon. Oh.
Hey, is there anyone here?
Oh my gosh, investigating.
Without understanding why, she began to look around in fright, searching for a way out. The inner voice screamed, "Run!"
Then run!
She was not mistaken.
Go!
The floor under her feet began to shake, and the wind turned into a real hurricane.
Run.
Jessica's heart pounded, and she rushed to the nearest exit. The path to the elevator seemed endless.
Take the stairs. Someone's gonna pop out of there.
When she finally ran into the elevator and the doors closed behind her, she still heard loud howls of the wind. Going lower and lower, she felt growing despair rising in her chest.
Where are the numbers at?
Finally, ground floor. When the elevator door opened, Jessica was seized with chilling horror. There was a wall in front of her, made of soil. She froze for a second and then, in horror, began to dig the icy soil with her hands, trying to get oxygen. Her head was spinning, and she was digging faster and faster.
Go up.
Girl, you're in
Until
trouble.
she came across something solid.
Came across what?
A door? A tree? What is it? Oh my god. A coffin?
What? Oh.
She cleaned the soil, took a deep breath, and opened the coffin.
Why?
With shaking hands.
Okay. Gosh. Okay, that got me.
Yeah.
I thought she died.
Me too.
Seriously.
Oh, what a disgusting exhausting dream.
That was a dream? Dang.
Why? I also was thinking also the same thing. Huh? Hey, man.
Yeah, that window's still broke.
So go to the second floor and then take the stairs.
Or jump. Well, there's probably just another coffin waiting for you on every floor. Dang, girl. Jump out the window. No, they're on the 25th floor. No, but don't do it. Go to the second floor. Jump.
Oh, like guys, nah, that was actually something.
Yo! That made me
Neighbor with the stroller.
I laid poolside, perfecting my tan for the start of school next month.
Uh-oh.
Mom was in the kitchen, cooking her famous fettuccine alfredo, and Dad was on the way home with a movie from Redbox. My life was perfect, but everything was about to change with the arrival of a new neighbor next door.
Ew.
He was a former police officer, probably mid-50s, possessed a firm drill sergeant-like tone,
Nice
but was
mustache.
very friendly and talkative. Initially, he seemed like a good fit for the neighborhood. He was cordial, always made an effort to wave or say hi, and the presence of someone with a law enforcement background provided a sense of security. But everything began to unravel quickly,
When the Fire Nation
and the
attacked.
catalyst seemed to be me. My neighbor took a sudden and keen interest in me. Whenever I went outside, I could feel his eyes examining me. He would always wander over and try to start conversations with me, but as soon as he heard or saw my parents, he would leave. He asked me if I had any social media accounts. When I lied and said no, he asked if he could take a picture of me and proceeded to snap a pic before I could reply.
Ugh.
I felt completely unnerved and frightened about his intentions for me.
Run, girl.
For all I knew, that we could have a murderer or pedophile living a mere feet from
Tell your
our
parents.
home. I knew I had to delve deeper. So one night, I aimed my telescope at his window, and what I saw only amplified the alarm bells going off in my head.
Oh, gosh.
The man was fixated on the picture of me on his phone, and I could even see a small
Ew.
stack of photos on his nightstand, a young girl's image on top. My blood ran cold, as this all but confirmed my fear. He must be a pedophile.
He's looking for
The
missing
next
kids.
night, I saw him sneakily rummaging through our trash can. I watched in horror and disbelief as he removed my used tampon, got into his car, and sped off in the night.
He's a pedophile, girl.
This was the final straw. I knew that in the morning, I would have to alert my parents and get in contact with the police.
Yeah.
And next morning, I awoke to the sound of police sirens and a loud commotion downstairs.
Uh-oh.
I
Girl?
hopped out of bed and saw my parents being taken away in handcuffs. I started screaming and crying as I rushed towards the door, but I was stopped by the neighbor. With a horrified expression, he muttered, "I'm so sorry.
What'd you do?
Those aren't your real parents.
Told you!
They were kidnapped and missing the past 14 years. DNA test confirmed it."
I don't know why it's scary. That scared me.
Really?
That ring is like trippy.
Mom, Claire? My heart raced as I listened to the silence, praying that it hadn't been my mind.
What?
It couldn't be Claire. That's impossible. It had been nearly 20 years now. Mom, is that really you?
What's the accent?
I swallowed. There was just no way. Whoever this is, I want you to know it's not funny. Mom, I swear it's me.
Nobody's
I've
laughing.
been trying to find you and Dad for so long. Please, you need to come pick me up. Who's that? I cupped the receiver. My whole body was shaking. It's her. Give me that. He stared at the receiver for what felt like forever. Can't be. Hello? Dad? Claire?
Dad, please, you need to come and get me.
Nope.
I know what happened, and I forgive you. I really forgive you. Just let me come home.
Forgive him.
Claire, where are you?
It's dark. There's these holes in my stomach, and I just want to come home.
They murdered her.
I'm so scared, Dad.
Why would they murder her?
David moved the phone away from his ear and placed it slowly on the landline dock, ending the call. This only made the shakes worse. My heart was pounding. It's not her. It wasn't Claire.
How do you know?
It couldn't be.
How do you know?
We buried her in the backyard 20 years ago. We'd made sure she was dead gone. That child had never done any good. And that's exactly what scared me the most.
They did kill her!
If it wasn't Claire, then who knows?
That ring.
You scared me.
Hello?
Okay, that got me. Oh my gosh, that terrified.
She's 13, so guys, if you know you're 11, you're 12, go away. If you're 12,
This is the most terrifying thing that has ever happened to me. I want to share my story with the world, now that I have closure. It all started a couple years ago when I was living with my girlfriend, who we'll call Sarah for the sake of the story. I remember we were both in the living room watching a movie. We usually did movie nights on Fridays, and it was my turn to select which movie we get to watch. I was personally a horror fanatic, so I chose a horror film. It was pretty late in the night when this occurred, so it really made the movie that much more intense. Sarah wasn't really into the horror genre, so you can imagine the kind of reaction she had throughout the movie. Midway into the movie, Sarah asked if I could walk her to the bedroom. I reply by saying, sure, after the movie's done.
You know I don't like horror. Please just walk me to the bedroom. I'm scared, Trevor.
We can leave when the movie's done. I sat through your whole movie last week, so it's only fair that you finish mine.
Please don't do this to me. I'm really scared, Trevor.
Quit being a chicken. I'm not leaving the couch till this movie's done.
I hate you!
Sarah angrily gets up and heads to the bedroom on her own while I continue watching the movie and mentally prepare myself for the argument that awaited me. About 10 minutes later, my throat begins to itch, so I decide to get a bottle of water in the kitchen. As I stood up from the couch, I get startled as I see Sarah standing in the darkness of the hallway. Sarah, you scared me. I thought you were in bed sleeping. Sarah just stands there with her eyes wide open, gazing into my eyes with her emotionless expression, almost like she was looking into the depths of my soul. I assume she was still upset about earlier, so I said, I'll be waiting in bed, as I casually walk past her. As I open the bedroom door, I see Sarah laying in bed asleep. My mind raced with mixed emotions of confusion and absolute horror. I could have sworn I just saw her. I decide to peek outside the hallway, only to see nothing. This can't be real. I could have sworn I just saw her. I must be hallucinating. I just need to stop watching scary movies this late at night. I disregard what had just occurred and crawled into bed with Sarah. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I wake up to a loud sound which sounded like glass being shattered. I noticed Sarah was no longer in bed with me, which I found quite bizarre as it was very uncharacteristic for her to be awake at this time of night. I could hear weird noises coming from the washroom outside the bedroom. I cautiously get up and began to approach the washroom. I could hear Sarah in there. It sounded like she was talking to someone, or something. I opened the door, only to discover the most terrifying thing I had ever laid eyes on. I can see Sarah standing in the bathtub covered in blood. She had smashed the mirror and used the broken shards to lacerate her body entirely. She then began yelling the words, "I hate you! I hate you! I hate you!" Her voice was demonic. I was thoroughly convinced that this was not my girlfriend and that she had been possessed by some sort of evil entity. I stood there quivering, not being able to move a muscle out of shell shock. Sarah then pulls the shower curtain, unveiling a message on the wall which spelled, "I hate you," written in blood. My legs go completely numb as I collapse to the floor. Sarah then picks up a large piece of the broken mirror and yells one last time in her demonic voice, "I hate you!" She then pierces the shard across my chest repeatedly, stabbing and stabbing and stabbing. I remember seeing a bright white light as my life flashed before me. That's when I open my eyes and wake up to a movie playing in the living room. This isn't the horror movie I played earlier. It must have been a movie Sarah put on. I checked the time and it was exactly 3 a.m. I looked to my right only to see Sarah staring dead at me with a grimacing look. What's wrong, Sarah?
This is the third time you fell asleep to the movie that I picked on movie night. I hate you.
Sarah? Sarah?
This happened to me about a year ago. I used to be a janitor for a cleaning agency. I would basically take contract jobs to clean in various locations. One day, my cleaning agency gave me a cleaning contract at a psychiatric ward, also known as an asylum. To be honest, I was a bit hesitant to take the job, just because of the superstition of asylums being haunted, but I took it anyway because the pay was decent. Later that day, I arrived there. I see a huge old-looking building. To be honest, I was quite creeped out since the asylum was secluded in the middle of nowhere. When I arrive inside, I notice people giving me an uninviting stare. I'm not just talking about the patients, I'm also talking about the employees as well. To be honest, I kept it professional and began to do my job.
Yeah.
I remember mopping the hallway and seeing some really bizarre things. I saw some creepy looking patients that had a disturbing look to them. I don't know. They just looked like the kind of people you would see in one of those Exorcist movies. I remember seeing this one guy that really gave me the chills. It was a man who looked to be about 7 feet tall. He gave me this really disturbing smile, like he wanted to kill me. I can see a nurse instructing him to lay on his bed. He didn't look too happy after that. I also remember seeing a swimming class taking place. Well, not exactly a swimming class, just a bunch of patients in a swimming pool. They were all holding an exercise ball and mimicking the actions of the instructor. I personally found it unsettling, to say the least. When it was around the end of my shift, I was getting ready to head home. I noticed all the patients' doors were closed, except for one room. I could see someone laying on the floor with their legs halfway across the door. It was a bit alarming for one to be laying on the floor like that. I then saw the person getting yanked into the room. That honestly startled the crap out of me. I then noticed a puddle of blood spilling out from the room and onto the hallway. I decided to approach the room and see what the hell was going on. As I peeked inside the room, I saw one of the most disturbing things ever. It was the tall man I saw earlier. He was biting the hell out of one of the nurse's neck. You can see the nurse's eyes gouged out with blood pouring everywhere. I carefully made sure to not scream or make a sound. I got the hell out of there and immediately started driving off. I even called the cops while driving. To this day, I'm still traumatized by what I saw that night. I'm not sure exactly what happened to the tall man, but he still gives me the chills just thinking about him.
Oh, that's the end. Yeah, guys. Yo. That was. See what I mean? You guys will get traumatized. That was scary, weird. Like, did you guys see the eyeballs of Queen? Like, Hey. Now let's go out and check out another one. Here we go.
His worst mistake was to believe he was alone. The back rooms. Few internet mysteries have haunted me as much as the back rooms.
For as long as I can remember, I've seen a lot of creepypastas and unbelievable internet stories. But when I heard the story of the back rooms, I knew it was real. I knew I had to know that place. For all those who don't know, have you ever dreamed of a labyrinth with a bunch of yellow offices that led to nowhere? Ever felt the smell of wet carpet in a dream? You may not even remember it, but you may have been there. Many people enter the back rooms. What not many people know is that if the dream is too deep, very few make it out. Man, I swear I've been in there. I've been in the back rooms. Are you sure it worked for you? Like me, Diego, my best friend, was also obsessed with the idea of getting into the back rooms. So when he told me he got in 2 nights in a row, I was shocked. Yeah, it's easier than you think. You just kind of have to think about it as much as you can when you go to sleep and you'll be there. But how do you know about it if you're sleeping? Easy. You just have to have sleep paralysis. When you have sleep paralysis, you're half asleep and half awake so you can think more rationally. I don't know, man. Isn't it dangerous? Paralysis makes dreams much deeper. Well, look at me. I'm here and nothing has happened. I guess you're right. I admit that when I tried to have a sleep paralysis that night, I was terrified. But that wasn't going to stop me from meeting the back rooms. I did everything I could to make it happen. I ate a lot and went to bed quickly, leaving the TV on at high volume. At bedtime, I followed every step Diego had given me, and after just the first try, I was in the back rooms. I knew I was dreaming, but at the same time, I felt the smell of wet carpet. I felt cold, scared, and excited. It was as if I was awake, as if I'd been transported to another world. Without fear, I walked the labyrinth of the back rooms. Everything was like in the legend. The walls were all the same. There was an aura of eternal disorientation, and my only companions were the lockers and the dead ends that occupied almost the entire maze. Was I at the beginning of the labyrinth? Was I about to leave? I began to panic. This was no longer fun. I wanted to go back home. I ran desperately through the labyrinth. Maybe I could find the exit by chance. Seconds, minutes, and hours passed, and nothing. I fell to the floor in tears, and at my worst moment, a cat approached me. Hey, cutie, what are you doing here? Oh, honey, I asked for this, but I don't think you tried to come in here. We'll find our way out together, won't we? Renewed with energy, I continued looking for the exit, much calmer and accompanied. A few minutes later, I arrived at another dead end, but with a particularity. There was a girl with her back turned at the end of it. Surely she was another lost person, so I approached her. Hey, do you need help? In response to my call, the girl turned around. At that moment, I realized that I was the one who needed help. The girl had no face, just a huge hole surrounded by teeth in a circular shape. It was as if her face was a mouth. I grabbed the cat and walked backward, slowly and carefully. The girl dropped her back to the ground, and before falling to the floor, she put her hands on the ground and stood on all fours, as if she was a kind of spider. In this position, it ran at full speed towards me, so I did the same. Whatever it was faster than me, so at a turn, I hid in a locker before it caught me. Hello? Anybody here? That voice was familiar. Was it Diego? What was he doing here? I was about to open the locker to tell him to run, but as soon as Diego was in my sight, it was too late. The monster came out of the corner at high speed, and standing in 2 kicks, sunk its teeth into his head, lifting him up and swallowing him as if there was a bottomless hole inside of that little body. The only thing I could do was stand in the locker with the cat, watching how that being was swallowing my friend in one bite, leaving no trace. To my terror, it wasn't over there. The monster walked in my direction. I felt the sweat pouring down my forehead, over my body and my head, until I realized that something was wrong. That wasn't sweat. I looked at my hands and arms. They were full of cockroaches. My whole body was full of cockroaches. I felt them walking all over my face. There were more and more. I looked down, and to my surprise, the cat had its mouth open. The cockroaches were coming out of it. At the time, I could see how horrible red eyes were watching me from inside the animal's mouth. That was not a cat. It was just disguised as one. I wanted to scream, cry, and run desperately. I wanted to throw that horrible being out of my hands, but I couldn't. I looked up, and behind the locker, the monster was still there, standing against the locker, inspecting if anyone was nearby. I closed my eyes in tears and just prayed that everything would pass as quickly as possible. The behavior of the cockroaches had changed. They were no longer moving erratically. They were trying to get into my mouth, my nose, and my eyes. They were all over my face. I opened my eyes and the being was no longer there. This was my chance. I rammed the locker while throwing the cat as far away as possible. I crawled across the floor, pulling some cockroaches out of my face and spitting out the ones that had gotten to my mouth. When I opened my eyes, I forgot about the cockroaches. Behind the curve, the monster from before was waiting for me. He had set a trap for me. My first reaction was to run as fast as I could while the creature, on all fours, ran after me, getting closer and closer. As it was about to catch up with me, I saw a red door in front of me, and I entered before it caught me with its huge mouth. A strong light blinded me, and I felt an impact on my body. When I opened my eyes, I was full of mud, in the square, a few blocks from my house. When I entered my house, everyone was surprised. No one saw where I appeared from. No one saw me leave the house. I just appeared there. I called Diego, but no one answered. Shortly after, his parents called me to ask me if I knew anything about him. A few days later, the whole town was surrounded by missing posters with my friend's face on them. No one ever saw him again. Since that day, I avoid thinking about the back rooms at all costs, for fear of ending up there when I dream. I regret the day I became obsessed with that damned place and provoking the beings that live there. I'll warn you once again, you can all end up in the back room. If you ever dream of that place, don't trust anyone or anything. Just look for the exit and run.
Now this is, I don't know how many... Oh!